Hi everyone. I hope everyone has had a blessed, productive, positive, beautiful, light-filled day today. Today and yesterday were really great days for me, full of high emotions, but positive emotions, high energy. And I know it's all because I took that leap of faith, took the giant step towards my progression. I listened to my spirit within me and started the videos. I want to take just a second to thank everyone that has sent so much positivity and so much love, whether it be through your comments on my Instagram page or Facebook or YouTube, or honestly, even if you didn't write a comment, I've been feeling everyone's reactions to the video. I've been feeling positivity and I've been feeling the love. So I thank every single one of you. I did not expect this kind of reaction. I've been getting messages from people of my past, people that I didn't know were even following me. Honestly, I've been getting messages from people from my middle school years, high school years, college, and people that I just didn't expect still were following me at this point. So I genuinely send you all gratitude and love, and I hope that we can continue just growing and learning together. And again, I want this process and this journey to be as interactive as it can, so I appreciate any comments, any feedback, anything you would want to listen to or discuss. So I do want to start today with just a little bit about my awareness, about my awakening process. I want to talk about what really initiated it all, and what inspired me to truly focus on the spiritual aspect of my life. It was around 2013, 2014. There were many things going on in my life at the time. We had recently gone through a foreclosure process from a home that I lived in for about 15 years, I believe, about 14, 15 years, and I was not able to sleep. I was suffering from insomnia. I was having depressive moments and depressive thoughts. I was going through a tough time in my life, and I was also in my first year of college. I was suffering from a back condition that started when I was 16, and I think I'll go through all of that in another video. But for now, I want to focus on the time span where the awakening actually started and what happened after I truly awakened. So it was around that year and that time, and right around the time I had my second spinal surgery, I couldn't sleep, and I was getting very irritated, and as much as I prayed and wanted to stop the thinking and stop the obsessive overanalyzation of things and stop the negative thoughts, there were good days and bad days, but I couldn't really get a control over my thoughts, and that's what kept me up late at night. And I know that a lot of you have gone through something like this or similar, or right now might be suffering with this and not being able to go to sleep, despite I was taking melatonin pills and trying to take teas and different external sources, which is something we'll talk a little bit about later. I was searching to heal myself from the outside within, instead of from within to the outside. I remember I was on YouTube and I was looking up techniques to fall asleep, and I ran across a video that said meditation for guaranteed fast sleep, or getting to bed, going to sleep fast, or something like that. And I remember being very skeptical of the video and just the idea of it, but it was at a point in my life that I had tried everything else and nothing was working. And of course, because of the lack of sleep, it was affecting my performance in all other aspects of my life, in school, in college, with my grades, with my papers I had to write, with work, with my personal life in general. My energy level was extremely low. So I took a chance and watched a video. And I have to tell you, before that video, I've never tried anything related to meditation or anything holistic, really. So it was a guided meditation, and it started walking me through the steps, starting with what we all know, just the deep breathing, inhaling and exhaling, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, kind of calming down your heart rate, calming down your cells, your body in general, calming down your thoughts. And it explained about observing the thoughts and not really attaching to them, not really putting the leash on the thoughts. It's just imagining the thoughts kind of go by and not paying too much attention to them, not judging them, not criticizing them, not getting too emotionally attached. And slowly you start seeing those thoughts disappear. So I followed the guided meditation, the thoughts were disappearing, and then it went into a body scan. And I hope to do a future video just explaining meditation and giving maybe some tips and a guide for it. But again, that'll be in a later video. It went into a body scan, and that's just basically when you start from one extreme of your body, whether it be your feet or from your head, and you start imagining that there's some kind of light or warm liquid that's usually connected from the center of the earth. You're pulling energy from the earth or from another source, and it's going through your body and relaxing your muscles. So I visualized a white, bright liquid going from the bottom of my feet all the way to my head. And as it started from my toes, I actually started feeling the heat from that imaginary liquid, that visualized liquid. Because as we now know, visualization is a very powerful tool. It's a very powerful force. It has a strong energy because it's connected to the fourth dimension where all thoughts exist. So that liquid started coming up through my feet, and I start feeling the warmth. And that in and of itself was a very rare experience for me because I had never felt it before. So I start feeling the heat travel up my body, and as the heat's moving up, my muscles are relaxing. And it's going all the way up until I remember the best sensation I felt was when I got up to my shoulders, because like many other people, and I'm sure you're one of them, most of my stress is accumulated up in the shoulder area. And when I focused the liquid, the imaginary liquid, around my shoulders, I remember feeling such a relief. It was like a release of that weight that I had been holding onto for what I felt like were years. And even though I could stretch and do all these other physical activities to try to relax that area, it's never been as relaxed as it was at that moment. And when that dropped, that's when the rest of my body really got to relax at its maximum potential. It felt like dead weight, like I was sinking inside of my bed. Like I was so heavy that my bed was just sinking. It was like butter. I was just kind of melting in it. And by that point, as I kept going up through my face, it tells you to relax your jaw, relax your mouth, relax your tongue, your forehead, and you get all the way to the top of your head, which we all know is associated with the crown chakra. By the time I got up to my head and my crown chakra, I started feeling a vibration. I started feeling this tingling sensation on the top of my head, and the vibration just continued throughout my entire body. So I started feeling these little kind of energetic shocks, but just very subtle, nothing too alarming or harming. It was just these subtle energies, and I started realizing that there's something happening here. There's something that I've never experienced happening here. So as I started feeling this, instead of getting scared or afraid, I started trusting the process and very interested, because I love learning new things. So because this was a new experience, I just went, head on. So as I start feeling these vibrations and I start feeling myself sink into my bed, and at this point, I had to even realize that I no longer was thinking. I was no longer consumed by the highway inside of my head, these 1,000 thoughts just rushing by and thinking about tomorrow and what I'm gonna do and how am I gonna resolve this situation, how am I gonna do this. So all those thoughts had vanished at that point. And what started happening while I'm still feeling these vibrations is that I start feeling my consciousness just go to a deeper level. I'm going into my subconscious. Now at that point I didn't really understand that, but what I felt was I was just entering to a dark part of my, not a dark, meaning like dark as in there wasn't a lot of light, I couldn't really see anything. It was just an empty, open space within myself. It's like I was falling within myself until I got to a point where for a split second everything was just dark but quiet and calm. So it didn't initiate or give me any fear. It didn't make me feel uncomfortable. Instead, it was quite the opposite. I felt like I had escaped to a place where I can truly be alone and not receive all this external stress, not receive all this external influence. And it was only, like I said, it was only all dark for about a second or two, because then what happened next is what continued to lure me into this meditative state, this state of tranquility, because I started to see bursts of colors. I started to see all of the colors, to be honest. It was, the beautiful red and vivid greens and just these rich colors. And at one point, I even started seeing colors that I never saw in the physical world. The colors were so bright and rich that I just kind of stayed there mesmerized, just observing them, because that's all you're doing, you're just observing it. And shortly the colors started creating visions or images, and what I started seeing were people in my life. Not just people that were in my life at that moment, like my family members or friends or co-workers. I started seeing people from my past. I started seeing past friendships. I started seeing family members that I used to speak with and kind of socialize with more at a certain period in my life. And I started, without any words being spoken, what the vibe that I was getting, the impression that I was getting, was that some of these people that I was being demonstrated were people that somehow I had hurt them. Somehow I felt, it was like it was a telepathic moment where you just knew, you received the vibration, you received the vibe that these people that I'm seeing, at one point I have hurt them. At one point I caused them pain. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, I had caused pain. And I remember getting emotional because I'm not the type of person to ever desire any harm to anyone or any kind of affliction or anything. But at the same time, even though I was feeling bad, I started consciously accepting it. Accepting the fact that whether it was intentional or not, I had harmed these people. And that's when I started realizing that I need to make this right. I need to clear any kind of negative energy that I put out into the world, that I put out into this karmic field, right? Because we've all heard of karma. You know, what you put out, you're gonna reap. What you put out into the universe, you're gonna get it back. So I started feeling that, okay, if I inflicted all this pain, I need to negate this. I need to balance it out. Balance this out. I need to find an equilibrium. So while I was going through that, after I saw these faces and who I caused harm, then I started getting just a bunch of other visions. I started seeing things that, to be honest, at that point didn't make sense to me. I started seeing numbers and different events and different scenes that later in my life I started to understand why I saw those in this meditative state. They were, in a sense, kind of prophetic visions, things that hadn't occurred at the moment. And it took me a while after that meditation to fully understand everything, but again, the point of this video is to discuss that awakening moment for me. You know, a lot of people have explained that rush of energy that I got, that started from the base of my spine, or my root chakra, all the way up to my crown chakra, was the Kundalini activating. It's that energy that a lot of people say it's like a serpent that just goes up and activates all that energy, and now your energy flow is fully occurring. It's processing, it's performing its function and activating itself within us. So when I had that moment of that Kundalini awakening, my awakening process, everything changed. Everything. I started seeing the world differently. I started realizing that everything that I thought was fact or right, or everything that I was taught growing up, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say that it was wrong, but that it served its purpose during that point of my life. But during this point, when I started awakening, I realized that I had to seek more information. To be honest, the sensations that I felt during that first meditation is, I forgot to mention, I did end up falling to sleep after all that experience, and I woke up invigorated and extremely excited and extremely motivated to try this again. So from that point on, I started, at first I was addicted to guided meditations. Every night, right before going to bed, I would put on a guided meditation, put on my headphones, and just let it do its thing. It's because, to be honest, it's not really the person speaking in the guided meditation. It's you're the one who is putting yourself in a meditative state. There's just a voice that's guiding you, but you're going into a meditative state. And what a lot of people don't realize is that meditation, first of all, is nothing new. You know, it's something that has been used during ancient times and beyond, by various cultures, by, you know, Buddhists, by in Hinduism, and this is just something that has been around for a long time. But meditation, in its essence, it's really connecting to your soul level. It's connecting to that God spark, that spark of light that's in you, that's in every single one of us. You're connecting to that. This is why we've been hearing a lot from the spiritual community, and many religions now are accepting it, that God lives inside of us. You know, many religions focus on God living external from us, you know, living in heaven or in the sky. But we start understanding that that essence, that energy, that from source, from the universe, that created everything, we were made from that, and it's inside of us, and we are that energy. That energy inside of us, it was waited to be activated. And I feel I'm already getting onto a tangent, but that energy inside of us, our soul, which a lot of people reference as your higher self. Your higher self kind of hovers over you, and it knows exactly what you're supposed to do. It knows what life lessons you're supposed to learn. It's the essence that at the time of your birth, or before the time of your birth, it had already orchestrated what your life was going to be like, who were your parents going to be, to what family you were going to be born, who's going to be in your life, who's going to be your life partner. It orchestrated all this, and it signed in a sense a soul contract. And at that moment, that was my moment. Everything that happened before that day of awakening led me to that moment. That's when you really start to see that nothing in your life was a mistake. Nothing in your life was by accident. Sometimes we need to be in a very low moment, of our lives, a moment where it could be full of maybe financial stress, it could be full of emotional stress, it could be full of emotional turmoil, it could be full with mental health situations, it could be full of just material situations, like maybe losing a house or losing a job, or something that just really gets you to rock bottom. Because it's only in that state, unfortunately, as our human condition, where we finally start saying and thinking, this is not right. I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. I need to do something. I need to get out. I need to get out of the situation. I can't be stuck in the mud, and I can't be stuck in this hole forever. And that's when we really start to look. That's when we really start to seek answers. And we start finding out that the answers are really inside of us, because we need to connect to God. Whatever that might be to you. God, source energy, universe, Allah, whatever God is to you. But it lives inside of us. And it's through those moments of just complete catastrophe, that we start realizing, I can't keep doing what I'm doing, and there's nothing out there that's really going to help me. I need to help myself, because in essence, it's not really you helping yourself. It's your soul. It's God inside of you that's doing the magic. It's doing the work. It's making the miracles happen. So at that moment, I started, like I said, watching these videos. I was hearing the guided meditations. Then I started discovering that there's tons of different guided meditations. They all have a different purpose, a different function, whether it be to, like my first video was to go to sleep. Then there's weight loss meditations. There are attracting love. There's attracting abundance meditations. There's, clearing karmic energies, karmic contracts. There's accessing your Akashic records. There's tons of things that I'll get into at a later time. But every night I would watch a different one and listen to a different one and have new experiences. And the thing is that the lesson didn't stay there. It's not like it just stood with me in my bed right before going to sleep. It's something that every day light was being shown on something new in my life. Meaning, first of all, I was feeling my consciousness, my mind just open up. I started seeing things differently. I started seeing them more in a positive light. I started reading a lot of books, spiritual books. I started realizing that in order for me to continue to dominate my mind and get that power back and be the driver in my mind, I started realizing that my mind was being dominated by something else that wasn't really me. This is where I started getting into the ego mind, the ego-driven mind. Like I explained in my first video, the ego is afraid. It's all fear-based. It wants you to stay in the system. It wants you to feel afraid that you have to do every single thing in your life the way everyone else does it. That's why in our society right now, there's so much pressure on everyone. It doesn't matter what age range you're in, you're receiving some kind of pressure. Because if you're a child, even at such a young age, you're expected to walk by the time you're 1 or 2. You're expected to speak at a certain age. You're expected to then go to preschool at around 3, 4, 5 years old. You're expected to go through the school system, and then within each grade there's pressure, right, to hit certain goals, to get certain grades, to participate in extracurricular activities. All through middle school, high school, you're getting all those pressures. Then when you graduate, then you're supposed to go to college. There's all this pressure to go to college at a certain age, to get it done in a certain time. You get a job, you're expected to get the right job. You're expected to become promoted by a certain point. You want to become a supervisor. You want to become a manager. It doesn't end. You go into later in life, and now there's this time of, okay, I have my job, I got my education, now I have to get married. I have to get married before I'm 30. I have to make a family. I have to have kids, before I'm 30 or before I'm 35. And then I have to get a house. And then when you finally have the house, then you have to get a pool because everyone else at that age has a pool. It just keeps going. My point is, it just keeps going, and it's nonstop, and that's all ego driven. Because I started to learn that the constant chatter in my head, the chatter that mostly consisted of fear and judging people, and it just consumed my everyday, and it never stopped. I started realizing that really wasn't me, because I got to a point where through meditation you get to kind of harness your mind. You get to become an observer, and that's really what our goal is in order to control our mind, is become an observer. When you really start analyzing each and every thought that you have, you pick a day and you start analyzing, what am I thinking about right now? And if someone did something and maybe you're judging them, then you start thinking, okay, what am I thinking about this person? Why am I thinking this? Are my thoughts primarily focused on what I'm gonna do next? Is it focused on a deadline? Is it focused on maybe fear? Just thinking about what people are thinking of you, thinking about what the expectation is that's currently on you, and are you meeting it? If you're thinking about yourself, if your self-esteem is low and you think, oh, everyone's gonna see me with this stain on my shirt, everyone is gonna see that I gained a couple pounds, everyone's gonna see the pimple on my face, are your thoughts mostly consumed of those things? And when you start analyzing your thoughts, you notice a very important lesson. It's a very important discovery, because the fact that you were even able to analyze your thought and say, why was I thinking that? Or why am I thinking this? And why do these type of thoughts keep coming into my head? That voice, the why is this happening, the look at me thinking this way, why am I thinking this way, that voice, that's the observer. That's your soul. That's your higher self. The one that's actually able to watch the thoughts is your higher self. The one with all these crazy thoughts and the chatter and the noise all day long, that's your ego. Because it's driven by fear. It feels out of control because it feels like something's going to harm it. Something is going to, something's going to make it end. Something is going to interrupt it. And that's really what catapulted the rest of my awakening process. It was really getting in tune with myself. Through these meditations, I started learning new aspects of myself. I reached out to those people that I saw in that original vision that I had hurt. I made sure that I amended those friendships or whatever bond it was that I had. I made sure that I amended it, and I confirmed within myself that yes, I did damage. We have to accept that we're not always the victims. And victimization will be another topic for another day. But we're not always the victims. So as I started watching these videos, one thing led to another. I started learning about my energy system because I was curious as to what were the vibrations that I felt in that original meditation. That's when I started learning about the chakra system. I started learning about my auric field. I started learning about what can be used to help with these energies. So I naturally got into crystals and how to use crystals and how to clean them and how to use them in a meditation. When I finally really looked into what an empath is, I started realizing that as an empath who carries so much emotions and gets affected by people's energies, I really need to create a routine, create some system where I can cleanse myself of that. And also learn to not take people's energies anymore. So I just started taking one thing, adding it. It's like going to school, just taking a lesson at a time. And just really listening to my higher self. I started, as a kid, I feel like I've always have listened to my intuition. Before ever even, attending a church or thinking about God, before all of that, I've always felt something inside of me that has guided me. I have always felt it. It tells me where I should go. It tells me who I should be around. It tells me what to watch. It tells me, it's a voice that's always guided me and protected me. And it's now that I can really understand what was really going on in my past. So, like I said, I just started getting into everything. I started really opening up my mind, and as we all know, that's just your consciousness. It opens up. We learn about our third eye and our pineal gland and how it's a transmitter, and it receives all that divine wisdom and that divine energy, and it enters through our crown chakra and gets translated so that for us to understand. And of course there are more properties. I don't want to get into full details of each one because I feel that this video has already been long enough. So I hope that you enjoy this video. I apologize. I am the type of person that gets on rants and has tangents, so I'm gonna make sure to try to organize these a little bit more. In future videos, I hope to expand on maybe some of the topics that I briefly touched upon today, like the chakra system, the auric system, the auric field, different meditations, maybe crystals, and I'll explain a little bit more about my past, more about the situations that I had to endure and the pain that I had to collect in order for me to reach a low level to basically be used as a catalyst to burn all of that negative experience and transmute it into something positive, into what in effect became my awakening moment, that critical period in my life. So thank you for watching the video. Again, let me know what you think of it. Let me know maybe what you want to hear in future videos or something you want me to explain. I, again, will always try to make sure that it's whatever's resonating inside of me. Something that I didn't mention in the beginning was in any of these videos, whether it be mine or any other spiritual teacher out there or anyone else that speaks of these topics, just keep in mind that we all have our own truth, okay? And sometimes all you need to know is that if there's something that resonated in this video, that's because that's your truth right now. And that's what you need to understand at this moment, because that thing that you understood, that resonated inside of you, that made you feel something, that is what you're going to focus on from now on. That is going to be one of your lessons. That is going to be something that is going to trigger you to work on that aspect of yourself. So basically, discard anything that didn't resonate with you and just take what did and work on that. And look up information. Don't be afraid to research and learn more, because this is what our spirits, this is what God, what the universe wants from us, to expand and to grow, to spread light, to spread knowledge and wisdom, and for all of us to ascend, because we're all trying to ascend with Earth, with our Mother Gaia. She has already transformed into a fourth dimension, and she's transforming us to a fifth dimension, and we need to transform with her. You know, she's not tolerating, Earth is not tolerating a lot of this third dimensional thoughts and behaviors. That's why there's so many things going on in the planet right now with, you know, with all these hurricanes and these earthquakes and volcanoes erupting everywhere, and all of these natural disasters that are occurring, all of these changes in the climate. It's just her transforming, and it's signaling us that we need to transform as well. But we're transforming from the inside to the out, from the internal to the external, the interior to the exterior. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Again, thank you for watching, and until the next video.